Welcome back to the Locker Room, Episode 2, Part 2. I'm Captain Paul. This is my co-host, Fajardo. How's it going, Fajardo?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just jamming to this beat.
Yeah.
So before we get into the Pacific Division breakdown, let's talk about something that just happened across the wire today. For y'all that don't know, Boston Bruins re-signed Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci. So this was pretty breaking news to me, in my opinion, because this is something I expected Patrice Bergeron to come back. I was a little less kind of, optimistic regarding Krejci. So let's get right into it. I'm going to add it right here. So Patrice Bergeron and Krejci each signs a one-year contract with the Bruins. Centers reunite with Boston. Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci will be back with the Bruins this season. Patrice Bergeron signed a one-year, $2.5 million contract with the Bruins on Monday. The 37-year-old center can, earn an additional $2.5 million on performance-based incentives. He was unrestricted free agent and decided, hey, I'm going to come back. This is what Bergeron had to say. The kids obviously love Boston. It's their home as well, so that was a non-issue there. After that, it was more making sure that I missed the game again. And when I had those feelings, I felt like it was time, and I needed to play one more year and come back. It was more just letting my body and my brain and mentally just know what I wanted, and really listening to that. Once I felt the desire and passion was there, to me is the indicator that you need to do you and need to keep playing. Bergeron, won the Selke this past year as the best defensive forward in the NHL for a record fifth time. Alongside Bergeron, David Krejci signed a one-year deal, $1 million contract. 36-year-old can earn an additional $1.5 million in performance-based incentives. He played last year in the Czech Republic and in his native league. And this is what Bergeron had to say regarding Krejci's return. Super excited that we can make it work. He's an amazing person, first and foremost, but also an amazing player. I think it was in the same situation as me as far as decisions that we make. We had a few conversations. Obviously, we're great friends and we go back, so it was nice for him to take that time and make that decision. Bergeron will be rehabbing a surgery in June. I'll repair a tendon in his left elbow and expected to need 10 to 12 weeks to recover. So, and I'll finish up with what he said. I wanted to come back with the Bruins only. There was no question about that. He had 65 points last year with 25 goals and 40 assists in 73 games played. So obviously Bergeron has a lot to give. So as a Bruins fan, I am very happy Patrice Bergeron decided to come back, give it one more kick at the can. I think that he is still a phenomenal center and one of the best in the league. I don't think it would have been due to his talent diminishing. I think it would have just been his body's been beat up so much over time that he would have retired. The addition of David Krejci coming back, I'm a little bit I've always kind of been hot or cold with Krejci because he'd be up and down. But I do think David Krejci is a massive upgrade over a guy like we had last year with Eberle. So I think with the Bruins, I think this is the last year they're going to compete for a cup. And if it doesn't pan out, we might be seeing big changes. So, Fajardo, what would you have to say about these two signings?
I mean, I think that for them, it stabilizes, their veteran leadership. As they bring in some of these younger players to really try to develop them into those type of players that really give their all, their heart and soul to the Bruins, so they're not only legends to the Bruins, they're exemplary players and people on and off the ice. And with every team now bringing in what you would consider young talent, you kind of need those leaders in the locker room that can show them the way, right? I mean, they're not Jedis from Star Wars, but this is the way, right? And I mean, you look at other teams that have done similar things, and it works. It works as long as the youth is willing to listen, willing to learn some of these tricks, and work together, right? So it's going to be real exciting, especially with some of the problems that the Bruins are going to face at the beginning of the season. You know, some of these guys are going to be injured, still recovering, and won't be available to begin the season. But you look at like the second quarter of the season as where, okay, now we're going to see what they have.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of a massive. It's going to be a massive get for their depth, right? Because let's just call it how it is. The center depth last year, when you have Eric Haula as your second line center, you don't have enough depth. And then Bruins haven't done enough in their development to bring in more centers. I mean, the guys who brought in have just not panned out. And I don't know if that comes down to seeing the right talent or just having poor development down in the lower levels. But you had guys like Stunica who didn't really take that jump we thought he would last year. He's a fringe guy that might make the roster. Who knows? With those additions, I don't think so. I think if you bring in a guy like David Krejci even, kind of shows they don't really have too much faith in Stunica coming into a center role. Maybe a bottom six winger, probably not going to be a top six center. Alongside of David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron, you had the Pablo Zaka signing of went to avoid arbitration, 1 year deal, $3.5 million. Pablo Zaka, it's actually funny enough, he literally trains like the ice rink that I can walk to 5 minutes down the road. I've heard like from the people in the community, phenomenal dude. He's only 25 years old. He had 36 points last season, 15 goals, 21 assists, 70 games. This is what Zaka had to say after the trade to Boston. It's great. I know a lot of guys. I train summers here in Boston, stay here in the summer, so I know a lot of players. The Czech players who are on the team here too, forwards like Pasternak, Nos, Sorbrel. Every time I play against them, it's a tough team to play here. So being part of it, it's really exciting for me. Now, like he was the number six pick in the 2015 draft. He hasn't really lived up to that billing. He's always had that talent. He has the speed. He's still only 25 years old. So maybe he can maybe just a new scenery he can make that fit. But I think with Bergeron and Krejci coming in, I think it definitely certifies him being on the third line with Charlie Coyle and someone like Craig Smith. Mm-hmm. So what do you think of this 1 year for 3.5 for Zaka? You think that's a little rich, or you think that's kind of league average?
Well, I think it's league average for his caliber player. Or projected caliber player, right? Because like you said, he hasn't really lived up to the hype. So they're paying more for potential than they are the actual proven player. Yeah. And like you said, maybe it's a change of scenery. Maybe they feel like he might find his game here. It's all it's all going to be on the table to see. I mean, according to Cap Friendly, they have them. They have Zaka with Coyle and Foligno on the third line. Oh,
God, no, it would not be Foligno.
I definitely don't agree that that's going to be the thing. I think Foligno moves up with David Krejci and DeBrus probably.
No. Foligno shouldn't play. Because not to cut you off, I watched them last night, last year. Yeah. I mean, to me, this is what you do, right? This is what they did last year. Bergeron, Marchand. Oh, Marchand's out. That's why they have it like this. Yep. So, yeah, you're probably right. This is probably what's going to... It might look this day one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, honestly, I think that right now, before Marchand comes back, you say Foligno, probably put him up with Krejci, right? How you call it? Inflate his numbers by the time that Marchand gets back, and maybe make a move for someone who's a little bit younger that has potential, and that'll probably be the best move for them to get away from Foligno. I don't think that he's producing for his contract 3.8. I think he's more like a 1.5, maybe 2 mil at max type of player.
Max,
right? And that's if he's having a good year. Because you look at what he did last year, 64 games,
awful.
2 goals, 11 assists. That's nothing. That's a 750K player. That's not. Yeah,
I guess for me here, I'm looking at the lines. This is what I think is going to happen, right? Because Krejci has always commented he was kind of bothered under Cassidy that they wouldn't put him and Pasternak together. right? Because they're countrymen. They have good chemistry. Because when they play together, it's phenomenal.
Wait, hold on. So I think I know where you're going. You're going to do something that the Rangers did back in the day with Peter Nedved, what was it? Dvorak, and I forgot the left winger's name, where they had the check line. Because that would be actually pretty interesting to watch.
That's what I'm saying. All right, so this is what I would do. Right?
I knew where you were going. Once you said it, I was like, oh, I remember. I think it was like Hayek or something. I'll find out for you while you speak. But the Rangers did this some time ago, and they had some success with that line. Peter Nedved and Dvorak definitely put up numbers, and they were one of the top lines. That was really interesting. But yeah, go ahead. Give me your opinion on that.
This is what I think it's going to be, right? So when I think everyone's healthy, it's going to be like Marchand, Bergeron, DeBrusk, and then I think it would be David Krejci, Taylor Hall, and Pasternak, right? That's what I think when everyone's healthy. But for starting the season until people get back, I think it's going to be Hall and Bergeron with probably someone like, probably Jake DeBrusk on the right wing because he has played right wing because Marchand's on left. And then I think you're going to have Pablo Zaka, David Krejci, and David Pasternak. Get the Czech connection. I think that could work something pretty nice. And then on the third line, like I still think you have some, comparable pieces there, right? Like I think you have Coyle, you have. I'm not a big fan of. I think Foligno's a fourth liner at this point in his career, but I think you'll be able to have good production with that first two lines if you do it in that way. Because I think like with Bergeron, you're giving him like someone like Hall, someone that can produce. Because Bergeron still, in my opinion, kind of borderline elite player, but he's not in his prime anymore, right? Like he needs some help here on the wing. He can't carry and be the main focus of an offense. So you get someone like Taylor Hall on his wing. Then you put DeBrusk on the right wing. Then you have the check line. I mean, that would be beautiful. I think that, quite frankly, that's how I would go. And then you have Craig Smith, Charlie Coyle, and I'm slipping right here into my memory. But, you're going to have a pretty decent third line. I just think Foligno for me. No, because DeBrusk, it would be Bergeron, Hall, DeBrusk, right? Okay. Krejci, Pasternak, and Zaka. So then Smith would be left, Charlie Coyle, and then we'll have to figure out the other guy. I don't think Foligno would be it. Maybe Oscar Steen, because when he played in limited time, he didn't look terrible. I think that, you got some pieces here that I think will be, exciting. As a Bruins fan, does this make us like a Stanley Cup winning team? No, I think there's still holes on this roster, but I think it will make us far more complete and more competitive. I think we could probably finish third or second in the division with this type of roster.
So just to clarify, the original check line was Jan Hlavich, Peter Nedved, and Radek Dvorak.
Dvorak was nice. Nedved and Dvorak were nice when they were on their game. They were fucking nice.
Yeah, and then Hlavich was like that fill-in player that he just fit in perfectly. That line was great for the Rangers back in 2000. It was one of those really, really good lines that they weren't. They're not going to go down in history or whatnot or anything like that. But they were definitely a threat, and it was just they just always found a way to produce. They were exciting to watch. So if Boston can pull something like that off, I think that it puts them in a better place overall. Yeah,
no, that's exciting. So we'll we kind of wanted to start this podcast off with the Pacific Division. We won't start this podcast off talking about that because it's breaking news. So this video will probably be up today. So what are we here for? We're here for the Pacific Division.
Yes, sir.
So we left off last time here, folks, was with the LA Kings.
Yes.
So we're going to be going in alphabetical order, as we always do here.
Well, yeah. San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, the San Jose Sharks. So, with San Jose, there was a lot of things that I kind of liked with what this team used to be about. But with San Jose, I think they're kind of like in a year of transition. I think you're seeing a lot of
new management, if I'm not mistaken. They brought in a new director of hockey. They brought in David Quinn from from Pittsburgh. How you call it? I think Mike Greer is the current president of hockey for them. So it's a lot of change up front, up top. So to watch where this team is going to go, it's kind of going to be exciting.
Yeah. I think the problem I have with San Jose is that now they're currently 1.2 over the cap. And they are strung by this really bad Erik Carlson contract. Like $11.5 million until 2026 to 2027. And you've seen Carlson's game start to decline. So, I mean, we could be looking at a guy that doesn't really play out that contract, but
I mean, for the number of games that he played, he was still very productive, especially for a offensive defenseman. Right, he played 50 games. He had 10 goals, 25 assists, 35 points overall. That's still better than some regular defensemen play the entire season. So, the key for them is keeping him healthy, right? And I think that will add to their offensive power. And he is one of those guys that uses his offensive abilities, like his speed, whatnot, to really cover decently defensively. So
yeah, I think he can still point produce from the point, right? I still think there's some pieces there. But, I mean, I'm just looking at this roster, and obviously this is cap friendly. This isn't definite, lines. But you got, Timo Meier, you got, Thomas, Hurdle, and Alexander Barbanov on the first line, right? So, Meier, 77 games played, 76 points, almost a point per game. That's a really good 35 goals, 41 assists. Hurdle, 82 games played, 64 points, it's pretty good. 30 goals, 34 assists. And they have Barbanov, 70 games played, 10 goals, 29 assists for 39 points. Now, that's a solid first line, right? Like, I think that's a pretty solid first line. Where I think things will kind of get interesting, and I'm just kind of looking out. Oh, he's out for the season. Gavin LeBuck. Okay. So you have Logan Couture as your center on the second line. 77 games, 23 goals, 33 assists for 56 points. They have Luke Kunin, 82 games played, 13 goals, 9 assists for 22 points. Like, you see a massive drop here, I feel like, in production. I mean, outside of the top line, I think this team is going to struggle scoring. I don't see enough depth scoring for them to be competitive. I mean, maybe some of one of their youth prospects comes forth and really kind of kills it, but I don't know. I just don't see many at least 40 point guys here on their second line to really keep them in games. Yep. So I mean, and then you have this defense core. You have Erik Carlson, who he's got a lower body injury. Don't know when he's going to be back. But he had 35 points, 50 games, which isn't bad, but like 50 games only. I mean, because he keeps getting dinged up. And I think he's just very fragile at this point. I mean, what do you think of their, forwards and even defense core?
All right, starting off with their forwards, from their top line to their second line, there's a massive drop-off. Yeah. Somehow their third line looks better as their second line, if you're asking me. Right? They look like more of a stable group. They all kind of score around the same. They all look like they played the majority of last season, which is something you're kind of gonna have to look for with how injury prone this team is at the moment. They may want to look into some free agents that they can sign for a year while some of these guys are recovering. But there's not much out there as far as like on the defensive side, but as far as the forward side, you have a few guys that that are still out there, that
feel the thrill.
Yeah, maybe for a season. Guys like Derek Stefan, solid center. He's around 32 years old now, but you know what you're going to get from him all the time. He's going to play the nitty-gritty all the time. He can be a good third-line center that can produce whatnot. pick up a few free agents or something. But I mean, that's just looking at the forwards. The forwards are going to struggle scoring like this. You're in a division where you have the likes of Edmonton. Like if you have no scoring, right?
You're screwed.
You're done.
Well,
that's just honest.
And I think the problem here is that, scrolling up here, they don't have any cap, like any cap.
No.
Like it's. Let me click back here. Yeah, they're literally over the cap space by 1.2 million. So they actually have to shed cap, and I don't see anybody on this roster that's like, oh wow, like amazing. Like I hate to say it,
off. Right?
I mean, the only guy that I wouldn't want to trade, but if you're gonna go for the full rebuild, and that's actually what I think San Jose should do. I think they should be embracing it. I would trade a guy like Logan Couture. I mean, Hurdle's in 28 years old. Like, so, I hate to say it, I'd be looking at like, okay, we're not going to be that competitive. We have a lot of holes in our roster. We have cap issues. Let's trade off some of these heavier contracts, $8 million each, and try to open up some space for future assets. I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah. I can't remember. So these guys that are injured, if they all go on IR, right? Obviously, you have
it's an LTIR. Yeah.
Right. If they go on LTIR, will it hit against the cap?
No.
Okay.
So that's how Tampa Bay circumvented the cap. So for example,
right, for Kucherov, right? I remember.
Yeah, because LeBlanc, it says he's out for the season. He's a 4.75 cap hit. This doesn't have LTIR. So actually, no, they would be underneath the cap if they haven't put him.
Right. And then with the guys that are injured down low, I mean, if they're looking at
day to day,
right,
up for season,
maybe you throw one of them into LTIR as well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, these guys are day to day. I mean, if they're still not cleared, and their season was over at the end of last season, regular season. So
yeah, we also don't know how updated that is, though, too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They probably have it updated. And again, like I said before, you have new management up top for San Jose. What are they going to do? We don't know, right? It's one of those situations. I remember when Chris Drury came in for the New York Rangers, and he came in towards the end of a season, and he let everybody know. They sent out this mass email to every season ticket holder, which I was one at that time, and it pretty much said, hey, we're going to be making moves within the next couple of weeks to try to look towards our future. And they kind of gave us the heads up, like, hey, we're gonna make moves. It's not guaranteeing we're gonna be good for the next year or two or whatnot, but please stick with us while we go through this rebuild. Now, I think that I definitely agree with you on this, that San Jose should definitely be doing a rebuild, because their guys are getting towards the tail end of their careers. Quite a few of them. Some of them are still technically in their prime or whatnot, but they're not big point getters. They're not big producers. I think they need a powerhouse. They need to find like a couple of good players, not just one or two. They're gonna need like at least two on the forward side, maybe one big defensive name.
So like my thing here is that this next draft class coming up, some people have said it's going to be a little bit deeper than this past one. Get as high as you can in the draft, in my opinion. Yeah. I think that's the best bet here. I think, like, you looking at guys like Hurdle, he's 28. Like, that's not ancient by any means. Like, he probably has a good, 6 to 8 years more in his prime. Yeah. But are you going to be competitive within that time frame? Yep. And he's signed to a long-term deal. Like, you have him under contract for the next 8 years. So maybe they're just like, well, screw it. We have his rights. We'll keep him for the whole 8 years. But, I mean, like, I'm looking at a guy like Logan Couture, 56 points in 77 games played, pretty good, but he's 33 years old. I mean, how many more years of that production does he really have left in him? I would be looking at kind of moving his contract. I'm not a Sharks fan. I kind of can appreciate how good they can be. I'd keep guys like Timo Meier because maybe within 5 years you can be competitive, and he's still got time in his prime. But I would trade at least one or two pieces here and just start building for the future. That's how I would look at it. And like I think their best position depth-wise on the team is probably goaltender with James Reimer and Kapu Kakkonen. I mean, Reimer in 48 games played, 911 save percentage, 2.90 goals against, 19-17. Then Kapu Kakkonen, 36 games played, 912 save percentage, and a 14-14 record. Like I think that's a solid tandem, right? Yep. That's not bad. Yep. And I think something like that where you got a 1A, 1B type situation's fine. Aiden Hill's out. Aiden Hill's been, he's out for the season. He's been one of those guys that people think he'll be the next big thing for a while. We'll see. It doesn't seem like he can stay healthy. But, I think if I'm here to kind of conclude this, I think San Jose should embrace the rebuild. You know what I mean? Every organization is going to be going through it. My Bruins will be going through it soon. You're better off just cutting off the dead weight and just starting anew.
Yeah. I mean, you look at their prospects. There's not really much in their prospects.
No.
I mean, you look at maybe that defenseman Jacob Megna. He looks like he might be a solid fill-in. But let's face it, he's 29 and he's still in your minor league system. He's just going to be a guy that steps in to fill in.
Big body though, 6'6".
6'6", yeah. But he hasn't been able to really do anything.
I think there's not many two guys out here that I would say. I mean, obviously this past draft, in my opinion, I don't think any of those guys. I mean, unless you completely go with rebuild, I don't see any of these guys making the roster.
Yep.
I mean, maybe some of these guys from earlier draft classes will finally break through, but if I'm them, I don't know, man. Embrace the rebuild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my prediction for this team is they're going to sit at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the season. They're not making any moves up at this point, not with this roster, not with all these injuries, not with their entire setup, forwards, defense, goalies. I don't see it, but they're, like I said before, San Jose fans, San Jose is like my third team. Like, obviously you have like teams you follow. I've always liked San Jose. I've always liked their jerseys. Have always been really nice for me. But you look at them and you have to be realistic. The team as it is right now is a bottom tier team, period. But you have to be excited with bringing in Greer and bringing in David Quinn. David Quinn has been part of a few rebuilds, including the Rangers, as they got into this whole Jury thing. He was already starting the rebuild right before Jury got in there, and some of the players that he picked out, they're still there, and I believe he got fired as soon as like Jury came in. It was like a week later they released him and his staff, and he ended up in Pittsburgh the following year, and he kind of helped rebuild what they were doing there because they were kind of a mess at that time as well. And obviously it shows that he knows what to look for, because these teams are not out of a competition. They're always competitive. They're always doing something. So it's one of those situations that you have some good leadership when it comes to your top office, and you hope that they make the right moves in order to get you out of the bottom. But right now, with this current roster and team, you're sitting last or second to last.
Okay, so you're finishing second, last, or last in this conference.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree, honestly, because Anaheim made some improvements. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely say San Jose is probably either second to last or last in this conference, or in this division, excuse me. Actually, probably going to be one of the worst teams in the Western Conference. That's why I think just sell one of those good pieces. Maybe have just one good line so you don't piss off Hurdle too much, or Timo Meyer, I should say. And but yeah, it's got to be miserable. Just embrace it so you can get a higher draft pick. So that's our kind of viewpoint on San Jose. Before we get on the next team, anything else to say?
No. I mean, it's going to be interesting depending on what some of these other teams are doing. It's really going to depend where they fall, but I definitely think that they're unfortunately going to be a bottom dweller in their division. They don't have the offense. Their defense is in shambles with all the injuries. You know, even your goaltending is sort of in shambles. You have two guys that, yeah, they're decent, but the guy who was supposed to step in is out for the season. So that's a whole another year that you're delayed. You know, and you're right about, like, their superstars, like Hurdle. Like, what does he want to do? Meyer. This is Meyer's last season before he becomes, I believe, an unrestricted free agent next season.
Might have to double check that.
He'll become a restricted free agent
next
season, at the end of this season. So it's one of those things. It's like, you know, what do we want to do? Are we going to try and, like, you know, really bolster this team, not bolster it? You know, it's going to be kind of one of those things you just got to keep an eye out for, but I don't see anything coming from this team throughout the season.
No. So, all right. Yeah, I don't see anything crazy. I'm just hoping they make the right moves and really kind of just... Every organization goes through it. You just got to embrace it. And nothing wrong with trying to get some... Maybe you get Bednar, right? Maybe you get, like, a phenomenal elite level player. Maybe you get first overall and you can pick one of the best of his generation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, you got to look at things on the bright side. So, look at things on the bright side. Let's, you know, start fresh and new here. Next team we're going to be talking about in the Pacific Division is the Seattle Kraken. This was a expansion team last year. Everyone thought because Vegas did so well in the first year, Seattle was going to do the same thing. And no. Like, that Vegas was just... When Vegas was crafted, right? They were crafted at the perfect time because expansion happened in a bit, and that new rules they had and all that wasn't perfectly... like the last one when Columbus and Nashville were made.
Yeah.
So Vegas knew how to circumvent the system. So GMs weren't as dumb. The other GMs made Vegas a contender. Yeah. But I'll have to say this is that, it was a rough year for them. But all things considered, you had a fan base there. You have a new fan base there that are really embracing this hockey team. Even though they were not a great product night in, night out, people still showed up to the games. And that's an important thing. I mean, I couldn't say the same thing for Vegas. Like, if the Vegas team started out bad, I don't know if people show up. So let's go to Seattle here. You have, 81.5 essentially in a cap hit, $1 million in cap space. And this is a team I feel like that's a bunch of castaways. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you got Jaden Schwartz. Is he out for the season? No, he's did it. Okay. Matthew Berniers. You have Jordan Eberle, right? You have Jared McCain, Yanni Gord, Andre Borozovsky. Is he out for the season? He's unknown. Okay. You have Oliver Borkstrand, Alexander Wenberg, Brandon Tanev. You have Ryan Donato, Morgan Geeky.
Tanev is out for the season, though.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yep, he is out for the season. That's right. It was at ACL. Yep. Jonas Domonsky. I mean, I don't think this is how the lines will shake up. I mean, maybe it will. I mean, up front, I think they're like an okay offense, right? But I don't see anything like earth-shattering.
No, I mean, again, you look at the other people in this division, and unfortunately, these guys don't stand a chance. You know, I mean, Edmonton, Calgary, what are you guys doing against those guys? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and again, there's another team that has injury woes, and when you have this many injuries going into a season, it brings up the question, like, where are you, right? Where are you going to fall? What are you going to do? Tanev being out, Tanev was one of their most, I think he was their most notable player last season. Not point-wise, but like whenever you played,
heart and soul guy.
Yeah, you saw him. You know, getting into the nitty-gritty, getting into those spaces. He was. But well, I don't know if you ever saw his actual his picture. Like,
yes, I have. That is a meme. That is just like wide out. Yeah, it's so funny. The one from Pittsburgh. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's just like, bro.
Intense.
You know, but losing him for the season, right? Who do you have that can come in and fill in his role?
His role. I mean, I think there's multiple guys that are going to have to step up.
Yeah.
I think you have. I mean, this is a competent offense, right? Like the first, I don't know if this how the line's going to shake out, but you have 23 points, 9 points in 10 games. Because that kid looked like a rookie last year. 44 points, 79 games, and the second line they have 50, 48, 61. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have some guys that can score around 40 through like 40 between 40 to 60 points.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be an atrocious offense. Like I think this offense is far better than San Jose.
Yeah.
Just on paper and just in looking at things.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Eberle, I think he underperformed last season. He's definitely better than that. Obviously, he played for the Islanders for so long. I've watched what he can do. I think that he can definitely do better. And it's one of those things, it was an expansion year last year. They went through the rough start. It wasn't the Vegas show, right? And it's one of those things that now you got to find your identity, right? Right now their identity is being a scrappy team, but now your scrappy team leader is missing in action because he's injured.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, where do we go from here? What do they want to do? It's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. I think it's kind of a situation where you lose a guy like Tanev, just a heart and soul guy. I mean, but you're going to have other guys that step up, I feel like, and can fit that role. I think a signing that I was kind of shocked is they re-signed Ryan Donato at $1.21 million. Like, that's not a bad hit for him, 31 points last season. Ryan Donato's been one of those guys that I think is in, like, as a Bruins fan, I thought he was a little overrated when he was here. They were expecting him to be a top six guy. That was never going to happen. Just, you didn't have that game. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, in the fourth line role, maybe third line fill-in at times, I think he's pretty competent. It's just, you're going to have players step up, and I think Seattle's going to be what a true expansion team usually is for the first few seasons. Like, going to be a bunch of guys that are just trying to stay in the league, come in, and some guys will kind of excel in that type of environment. Some others won't. But because I see a lot of these guys would be really good second, third liners on contending teams, but then they're asked to do more on this type of team. So, I think that's going to be kind of something, to watch. I think they'll be better than last season, though. I think like it has to be.
I mean, the one thing I do like about their team is that offensively, it's spread out. All four lines have to contribute. If all four lines aren't contributing, they aren't doing their job. Because if you look at their point totals and point scoring and everything, even with the guys that were there only for a short stint, like Beniers, Matthew Beniers, who looked like a rookie, who they drafted and they brought up. He played 10 games, 9 points. That's pretty good.
That's
right?
That's pretty good, yeah.
Now you want him, to see if he can do that in a full season, right? What else? Every line has, guys at 20 points just about at minimum or higher. Their second line would be technically their first line. They're all at the 50 point mark. Their third line, you have one almost 60-point scorer. Then you have
37
points. And then the other guy, he's got 15, but Tanev, he only had 15 in 30, which isn't bad. A full season, he probably would have had 40 points. Easy,
yeah, so like you have a bunch of depth scoring, and I think that's important. I think they're going to be goal scoring by committee. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think there's going to be one singular player that like shines. I mean, Beniers, I should say, he could maybe be something special because that's nice. 9 points in 10 games as a rookie, that's pretty solid. But it's a small sample size, so that could be also a one-off thing.
Right.
But he was drafted second overall. Yep. So I mean, I'm hoping for his sake he pans out. I mean, now you look at this decor. You got what's Vince Dunn? He's only unknown. So Vince Dunn. You got Adam Larson. You got Jamie How do you say that? Alcasaic. Alcasaic.
Alcasaic.
Alcasaic. I apologize for butchering. Justin Schultz. Carson Saucy. William Borgen. I mean, obviously last season on a really bad team. minus 21, minus 23, minus 1, minus 15, then 7, then 1. I mean, like, none of these defensemen to me stand out as, like, elite. I think Vince Dunn's a nice defenseman when he's on his game, if I remember. But Larson's okay. I think Larson's probably, maybe a bottom 4 type pair guy. Jamie Alstott, I'd have to kind of really look more into his game, but he's 6'7", so, size matters. And Justin Schultz, he's a solid defender. I think the defense is just kind of like average.
They're average, but you look at their point totals, and you have to know that their defense plays a crucial part in their offense as well. They have to distribute the puck. You have to get shots on net from the point. So it like we said before, it's kind of like the whole team has to contribute in this scenario, including the defense, and it's okay. Again, unfortunately, much better than San Jose. I'm sorry, San Jose. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but numbers don't lie, and their numbers are better than San Jose's.
Yeah. I think, one of the shocks to me, and I think it was just the sum of the parts, man, but the goaltending sucked last season. And I was surprised because I was pretty high on Chris Dreger, not as much as Grubauer, because I've seen Grubauer play. I just thought he played in Colorado where, Kemper went there, just won a cup, and I don't think Kemper's an elite goalie. I think just Colorado's a very good team because Grubauer was actually in Vezina consideration. But let's just go into it. Philip Grubauer, the starter, 55 games played, 3.16 goals against, an .889 save percentage, 18 wins, 31 losses. Drieger did nothing to steal the job, though. So 27 games played, 2.96 goals against, .899 save percentage, and 9 wins, 14 losses. Now, I'm not blaming solely the goaltenders on this. I think some of this was the sum of the parts around them. But I do think your goalies need to at least be around a 9 save percentage. 900. I think that's just kind of inexcusable. And obviously you got to see better team defense. But what I thought was going to be a strength for them, it seemed like just couldn't rise to the task. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I watched some of their games last year, and I'm not trying to bag on Grubauer, but even in games where I think Seattle played pretty well, Grubauer would kind of let in that occasional softie, and then it just kind of kills it. Because Seattle doesn't have the scoring, in my opinion, to keep up with a lot of teams. So when you have a goalie letting in 1 or 2 bad goals, it's defeating in a sense. With Drieger, when I saw him play, he was kind of eh. But I think goaltending, I think the team defense has to improve. You got to do better in front of your goaltenders. But these goalies need to step up and really kind of, help this team fight for, a better finish than last season, to put it that way.
Right. So with their current roster, right, the big question now becomes, at what point do you look at your prospects, your kids, right? Like your Shane Wright, how ready is he? What will they throw him into the fire right away?
Yeah.
Or are they gonna, drop him to the A and let him play a couple of games and then possibly bring him up? Right, all these things are going to matter. All these prospects, they're going to get their chance, I believe. With their roster isn't the worst. I say it's okay, but okay leaves you in the bottom 2 of this division, right?
Yeah, because it's a deep division.
Exactly, but they did get a lot of players in this draft that look like they have something that they can contribute to the team. Obviously Shane Wright was the big name, who was projected to be the number 1 pick and fell down to the number 4.
Due to his attitude.
Him, right, due to his attitude towards, I guess, the people he met with. His attitude dropped him down. I don't know him. I will not comment, speculate. But that has been what has been said about why he dropped down to number 4.
Yeah.
Now, did he get humbled? Did he learn something? Will he get the opportunity, and will he have that chip on his shoulder to prove himself? Right. That's going to be most likely seen within this season. I think he's going to get a chance early in the season to play and maybe see if he can contribute or do anything.
Yeah, I think like a guy like Shane Wright, use them. I mean, because, for example, that actually would probably work out pretty well. Maybe put Shane Wright, and I believe this with young players like Bernier's and Wright, like, they're your future, right? Bernier's is 19, Wright's going to be 18. Here you go. Here's another center. Go up there and show me what you can do. I mean, Shane Wright was, talent-wise, the most well-rounded prospect in the last draft. Now, people think, in Montreal, think Slavovsky. I can't fucking say it. I can't say it. I almost had a stroke. I almost had a stroke. Oh, shout out to Good. But, my thing is this, is like, he might have a little bit more top-end talent, but Shane Wright is the most well-rounded player, and I think he could still be a top-type center. I see no reason why not to. You're not going to be good next season, right? Mm-hmm. Give the fans something to look forward to every night. Like, let Shane Wright develop at the highest level. Don't bury him on the fourth line or third. Like, let him play at least top 9 minutes. Let him play in the third line if you have to, kind of slow start him. But I think it would be kind of foolish not to play Shane Wright, because, like, what are you going to have him just sit in the minors or the juniors? That makes no sense. Like, they have a prospect pool here. Like, they're,
Yeah, it isn't bad. I mean, look, the position where they picked were pretty high. So obviously you have intentions with these guys. You know, I mean, you look at the first 3 prospects that they have up here: Jaeger, Yanni, and David. Right, all within the top 61 players that were picked. So they had to have shown something that made you say, I want them this high, you know, within the top 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
You know, so put them to work. I mean, they're on you're paying them, right? And right now your team needs something else. And maybe even if they can't give you that something else right now, maybe you develop them into the players that you want them to be. Yeah.
I think it's going to be key. You got to have a balance, right, in my opinion. Because I think with the Edmonton Oilers, like in the early days of Taylor Hall and like a bunch of draft picks with like Nugent Hopkins and Eberle, right, like all those young players, I felt like they never really brought too much veteran leadership in. So I think you got to have like a half and half, in my opinion. You got to have like half the room full of like veterans that know the NHL and have been productive players, and then mix in with youth. Like with a team like this, allow these players to flourish. I mean, like, I looking back into it, I'm going to scroll up here. I mean, 30, like 32. I mean, even a guy like Eberle, right? And he might be a good heart and soul guy. I don't know how much you could get for him on the trade market at that 5.5 cap hit. But maybe you look in dealing him. Maybe you look at, like, looking at these other guys if they look like they're developing at the lower levels. I'm not saying that's what they do, but I'm of the belief when you're an expansion team and you kind of went with the youth movement, just embrace it and let these guys develop at the NHL level with some, quality players alongside of them.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. I believe that right now, right, the reason that the NHL seems heavy on one side, like the teams that are contending, they're contending. There's no rebuild necessarily going there. Why? Because they did their rebuild over the past couple of years. And now the rest of the league is kind of following suit. Like, let's face it, a particular generation of players is coming to an end. And now we're looking for the guys that are going to take their place. And, again, you look at teams like the Rangers, they're stepping into that scenario where they rebuilt for the past like 3-4 years, and now they're getting to where those young players are being, the difference makers. Now they're the players that they were looking at to begin with. And just, it took years. It wasn't like overnight. A lot of these teams, again, Seattle's a new team, but they're at that point because they got those misfits out of the draft and everything. They're at that point where it's not a rebuild. It's an actual, hey, we have a base, now we need to improve on it. Now it's time to bring in these young guys, and hopefully they can bring that next level game into this team and take them to the next level as a team overall.
Yeah, I listen, I think Seattle's got a bright future. They got a bunch of youth, got a bunch of promise. And I think there is some potential there to really kind of hit that next level running. So, like we always do, let's go to the division. Where do you think Seattle is going to finish next season?
6.
Ooh, okay. You can
Six.
finish 6?
I think San Jose falls. Yeah, I think San Jose falls. They're either going to be 6 or 7. Nothing great, nothing bad. Again, Anaheim has put themselves out of that bottom 3.
Yeah.
So for me, it's, last, I see San Jose in the last position. I see Seattle above them. And depending on what we see with the next 2 teams, Vancouver and Vegas, they can easily be 6 or 7. I don't see Seattle being any higher than that. Maybe they grind out and miraculously get a number 5, but that's gonna be
tough in this division.
Exactly.
I'm kind of of the same ilk. 6 or 7. I'm more leaning towards the 7th spot.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle fans, I will mind you, you're an expansion team, and I think you have a ton of promise. Like, I think within a few years, if the cards fall right, like where they should fall, I mean, you could be looking at having a very competitive team for a very long time if you draft well. I think if Shane Wright develops what he should be, Bernier's turns into, almost a point per game player in 10 games. Not bad. If he stays on that pace, he's Hall of Fame. Not saying he will, but, you have a bright future. So, I'm not as high on them this season, but I do like where they're going.
Yeah.
So, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Anything else you got to say about Seattle?
No, that's about it.
Alrighty, so let's get into a team from north of the border here. What are you thinking about the Vancouver Canucks?
Vancouver. Give me 1 second.
I'm going to pop them up right here.
Yep.
So,
Vancouver. Okay. This team is like a wild horse, right? You have strong goaltending, and at times you see them and you're like, oh man, they can do something, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, it's
they don't have a blaring superstar or anything like that. They have like JT Miller as their star center. JT Miller has never been a superstar.
He's a star, though.
Now, that's why I say he's never been a superstar. He's always been a good player that can be a star, for sure. And last year, he did his thing. 99 points. 99 points for that man. He has developed in a good way because he's always been the grindy player. He'll go into the corner and fight and make his presence noticed. He'll fight somebody if it comes to it. He's always been that type of guy. And, they surrounded him with 2 pieces, and he did his thing, is the best way to put it. You got Horvat centering the second line with Pedersen and, how do you say it, Bozier?
Brock Bozier.
Bozier. There you go. I apologize.
Bo Harvick's out for the season.
Is he? Oh yeah, he is out for the season.
So that puts a damper on things.
Yeah, that's tough.
I will say this is like I look at them. I think their superstar talent is Elias Pettersson. I think he has all the tools to be a superstar.
Yeah.
He's just got to find it out. He's got to kind of figure out his game because he had one phenomenal season and then it's kind of come back a little bit down to earth. 68 points last season, still a very good season.
Yeah.
But I think there's more there. I think with JT Miller, I think he's finally found a home. Yeah. I think Vancouver is finally kind of he's found a team that's really embraced him. I think this man's also, he's a UFA next year. So at the end of the season, I should say. So guess what happens? 99 points this season. I think he'll probably get around the same. And that man's going to get paid. Paid. Yeah. If I'm JT Miller, I'm balling out this year, and I'm trying to get for 100 points. I think this team is a nice team. I like certain aspects up front. I think, it sucks with the whole Horvat thing, but, Besser and Pedersen, I think are good players.
Yeah, I think Pedersen moves to the center position and they bring in a winger. It's easier to fill in on a wing situation compared to a center situation. So I think Pedersen moves to the middle and they bring in a left winger to fill in that role or move somebody up. But I think that Pedersen with Bozier, they stay on the second line and they just have someone fill in.
Yeah, and I think Ilya Mikheyev, he played for Toronto last season, if I remember correct. Or am I or was that the year before? Oh. I apologize. I have to kind of look at this because that's going to bother me.
Yeah, he played for Toronto last season.
Okay, so like I don't think he was necessarily as happy with his role. But I think in this year he'll get a place to shine. He had 32 points in 53 games. That's pretty good. Over a half a point per game. I mean, maybe he slots up on the second line if Pedersen goes to the center slot. Mm-hmm. An underrated signing, in my opinion, is on the fourth line is Curtis Lazar. I watched him as a Bruins fan. I absolutely loved him. Very heart and soul guy. I mean, he can't finish. He can't finish. But he'll give you 100% effort. I think he's the perfect fourth liner. $1 million, that's perfect for him. And I'm kind of glad to see him get a couple year contract because I think he did really well. I mean, defense here. I mean, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, he's out for 6 weeks, so we'll probably be back in time for the. Probably might miss a week or two in the NHL regular season, but you got Ekman-Larsson, you got Tyler Myers, you got Quinn Hughes, who had 68 points last season from the point. You got Luke Shen, you got Travis Dermott, you got Kyle Burrows. I mean, I think this decor is not bad. It's not bad. I think Ekman-Larsson, unfortunately, is not the guy he used to be in Arizona in his Arizona prime years. Mm-hmm. I know he's only 31. If you think, wow, he's already past his prime, but sometimes some defensemen age poorly. I think he's kind of lost his step. But I think he can still be an effective top four defenseman. I think the best puck-moving point guy would probably be Quinn Hughes, but I think he's got to get better defensively from what I've seen. I think he's adequate, but I just think if he can round out his game, he can actually be considered one of the better defensemen in the NHL. And I mean, anything you got to say about the decor before I go to goalies?
No. I mean, they look like they have a solid squad. I mean,
yeah.
Again, nothing pops out at you. Obviously, Ekman-Larsson is their title name on the defense. He did have
Quinn Hughes.
Well, I mean, he's getting there, right? He had a really good season last season. It's yet to be seen if he can sustain that.
Yeah.
Larson is just he has that title name because he's been doing it for so long, right? He did it in Phoenix for a while, whatever. Even though technically he looked like a little, like it's a little bit past him right now, but maybe he comes back this season, refreshed and ready to go, and he puts up big numbers again. Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I still think your best producer for the point is going to be Hughes because 8 goals, 60 assists in 76 games, like 68. That's great. So maybe he doesn't reproduce that, like have the same exact results, but maybe 50 points. I think he's only 22 years old, and if he keeps learning position, he could be like an elite level guy. I think goaltending though is fantastic on this team.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big Thatcher Demko guy. I watched him in college a lot. He's $5 million. I think he's more worth that and more. He had 64 games played last year, so a workhorse, 2.72 goals against, and a .915 save percentage, 33 wins, 22 losses. Like, you just look up Thatcher Demko highlight reels. Like, he would make some mind-blowingly good saves. Quite frankly, behind teams that would kind of leave him out to try at times.
Yeah.
And then, in smaller sample side, you had, they have Spencer Martin in the slot and the backup role. 6 games played, 1.75 goals against, .950 save percentage, 3 wins, 0 losses. I mean, that's obviously not sustainable. I mean, the one guy that is actually, it's going to be interesting. Where is he? Is he still on this list? Oh, DiPietro. he was kind of looked as the next guy for a while there in Vancouver, and he wants out. Like he's kind of like their third stringer at this point. So it's gonna be interesting to monitor that. Like is DiPietro gets dealt and stuff like that to a team that needs a goalie. But I think they're probably happy with Spencer and probably happy with the Demko-Martin tandem as of right now. Yeah. Maybe one of these other goalies. Maybe DiPietro plays them out, but it just seems like that's kind of past his time at this point. He's only 23 years old, but I mean that's been the big drama with the Vancouver Canuck fans is that Michael DiPietro wants out. And speaking from a New Yorker with DiPietro, I mean I think Fajardo doesn't have anything positive to say about that name. So, but I mean that would be an interesting situation to monitor.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What do you think about their goalie situation?
I mean, I like their goalie situation. Their goalies have to stand on their heads at times, but they have been, and that's the difference between them and like a team like San Jose or Seattle, right?
Yeah.
If your defense is not there, it's falling through at times. Maybe they're too offensive at times or whatnot. The goalies can hold it down. They can make that big save. That's what they're known for. Obviously, everybody saw the highlights for Demko in the playoffs. The guy's an animal. He's a beast. So it's one of those situations where they're good, and if they solidify their defense all around a little bit more, I say maybe get one, maybe two guys to come in. I think that they're going to be an actual contender. Like because that's all it was. That's all Colorado did last season. Besides, obviously, the fantastic forwards that they had, was their D-core was able to score and play defense, right?
Yeah.
And in this one, it's like depending on the defensive pairing, they do one or the other, and that's kind of where they need a little bit more balance.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out here with Vancouver because they're one of these teams that's always on the edge of being like, ooh, they're going to make it this year, and then they fall off. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or they make the playoffs, and then the next year. It's like they're hot and cold. I mean, I think Vancouver has all the talent in the world to be a playoff team. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe they are in a very tough division, so it's kind of hard to exactly place where I'd put them right off the top of my head. But, before we get into the rankings, anything else you got to say about Vancouver?
No, that's it, really.
All right, so let's get right into it. We got Vancouver finished last year 5th, I believe. Let me pull it up. Yep, 5th. Where do you think they will slide this season in the Pacific Division?
Based off of everything else, like we said, Los Angeles, they're falling off in this season, in my opinion, in our opinion, I believe.
Yeah.
How you call it? I think that they move up, maybe 4th. The highest they can get is maybe 3rd, but I think Anaheim has something to say about that, right? Vegas, we still got to take a look at them and see what they're doing, see how their season's looking, injuries and so on. But I say a good maybe 4th is where they're going to say 4th or 5th.
Yeah, this is hard because I love me some Demko. I really want them to get the postseason. I'm gonna go with my conviction here. I think 3rd or 4th. I mean, I think they're gonna make the playoffs this season. I know missing a guy like Horvat's big, but I think there's talent there. I think it's just undeniable there's talent there, and they can get more out of it. And if JT Miller even has a 3/4 of the season he had last, they're going to be very competitive. But yeah, I would have to say either 3 or 4 with Vancouver. I think we're going to see a little bit more of an improvement. And heck, they were only 2 points out of 4th place last year, so hopefully they can kind of stem the tide and turn it around.
Yeah, only 7 points out of 3rd. So that's why I said, they could max out at 3rd. But, yeah, 4th is kind of, 3rd and 4th is, yeah, it's kind of where they're going to fall.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll be 5th.
No, I don't either. Now, anything else to say before we head to the next team?
No, that's it for Vancouver.
All right, let's get into the last team of the Pacific Division in our long series of videos here. Is the Vegas Golden Knights, who are currently 5,794,000 over in cap space. So there's some moves they're gonna have to make here.
Well, depending on some of these injuries.
I mean, yeah, that is true. That is true.
Most of them are like unknown. Like unknown. Yeah. Are they on vacation for a year? They're planning to go to Tesla and go to space or something. Like they're right now, we don't know how these injuries are going to affect the team.
I mean, yeah, Mark Stone's unknown, and that's a $9 million cap hit. Right, Mike, unknown. Oh no! Week to week. Oh no! Oh god damn it! This is hard. Yeah, this is hard. So, I mean, like, okay. Let's go with the theory that and I think honestly, some of this is cap shenanigans. That's why it's unknown. But they need to get rid of someone.
Yeah.
Point blank. Like, it's got to be someone in the top line. Like, if I'm looking at a piece, I look at Riley Smith. See ya.
What is it? How do you say it?
Marcia So. I like how I can say that one, but I can't say the other ones. Whatever.
Yeah, so, I think they trade off Marcia So and Riley Smith, in my opinion, this season.
I mean, that'd probably be smart, so they can go and just have a fresh start. But like, let's go into this roster, right?
Yep.
So Jack Eichel, 34 games played, 14 goals, 11 assists for 25 points. Like, for a guy that took a whole year off of hockey due to an injury, I think that's pretty good.
Supposed injury.
He got neck surgery, bro. What?
Bro, I think he was ready. He was ready at some point, and he just said, nah, I'm good. Because, let's face it, he didn't want to be in Buffalo. He did not like Buffalo anymore. He wanted out. Everybody knew this. Everybody was just wondering, like, who was he going to go to? What team was he going to be traded to?
I get what you're saying, but yeah. The fight was over the medical procedure. Like that, and like at some point, like players got to have the right to do a procedure they feel like. I can see both sides here. Jack Eichel wants to get this thing done that was never been done before with hockey players. So I understand why Buffalo's like, well, I don't know about that, but Jack Eichel's like, well, I'm living in day-to-day pain, right? So I think with Jack Eichel, kind of like he's got a reputation allegedly of being kind of a douchebag. So I'm not saying that's not true. I think there's some validity to what you're saying in that regard, but it's a neck injury that can be very serious. I don't know. I'm just very leery of kind of, knocking a guy for that. You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah, no. I definitely don't knock him. What I'm saying is, I think that he was ready to go before they said he was ready to go. He just at that point he was so done with the team. He just wanted out at any cost.
Fair.
And just said, you know what, you guys aren't letting me do this or didn't want me to do this or whatever the case is. You guys don't care about it, so I don't care about you. And let's try to get me out of here. And that's where I think all the bad blood stemmed from. And it was one of those. It was like, listen, he's just not going to play for them. I think that if he was still on there, he didn't get traded, he still would have been recovering from his team, from his surgery.
I don't disagree. I think I feel bad because I think Buffalo is a fantastic pace to play as a hockey player. I mean, they love them some Buffalo Sabres. Mm-hmm. That fan base is ravenous. So Buffalo Sabre fans, if you're watching this, I'm as a Bruins fan, I gotta respect your dedication.
Hi, Joey.
And loyalty.
I have a friend named Joey who's a hardcore Sabres fan, and trust me, we go at it at words when it comes to the Rangers versus Buffalo all the time.
I mean, they're the true New York team.
Oh God, I need you to stop there. They're a New York State team. They're not a New York City team.
Well, to be fair, Buffalo has the only actual New York football team. That's a whole different discussion. So,
oh God,
you got Chandler Stevenson slotted right here. 79 games played, 21 goals, 43 assists, 64 points. Yeah, Jack Eichel, I mean, that's a good point production, about 3/4, so 0.75 points per game. Mark Stone, when he played, 0.81 points per game with 30 points in 37 games. You have Jonathan Marchessault, 66 points. William Carlson had kind of a down year, 35 points, 67 games. Riley Smith, 38 points in 56 games. Like, that's not bad, actually, looking at his points per game total. William Carrier, Nolan Patrick. This is unknown, right? It's probably going to be freaking unknown. Yes, it's unknown. So, Nicholas Roy. I mean, I look up front. I mean, they have to shave cap somewhere, so I think one of these guys on the second line is going to be gone. Yeah. I'm assuming it's going to be one of the wings instead of the center, because the center is the youngest player and center is the hardest position to get, in my opinion. But I think this team looks okay up front. It's got potential, right? If Jack Eichel and Mark Stone can play a whole season, it's got potential to be dynamic. But the problem is are they going to be healthy? Are they going to be there? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I look at this top six, and they look like a threat, right? They look like they could definitely do something. But obviously, again, you have to refer to the top of the division. Top of the division, those guys are going to be scoring this in half the season. Everything that these guys are scoring, it'll only take them half the season to get there.
I mean, listen, let's be honest. Draisaitl and McDavid outscore both their lines.
That is a fact.
That is crazy. I'm thinking about it in my head. Yeah, like, because 60. Yeah. Wow, that is wild. Yeah, so Draisaitl, McDavid, and more. And look, that's not to knock Vegas fans. We're not knocking your team. Like, those dudes are just phenomenal talents. Yeah. But I mean, like, you put me and Fajardo on their line, we might get 40, 50 points. I'm just saying.
So it's one of those situations where you guys have Vegas has good players, good lines. Obviously, a lot of has to be determined based on these injuries and whether these guys are coming back. But at this point, you want to keep that younger core together, which is pretty much everybody. Marchessault and Smith are the two guys who are old, and they're not even old, right? Like, they're 31.
No. Yeah, they only got 5-6 years left of good hockey.
Right, but they're at the tail end of their prime, most likely. Right. I think Marchessault could still put up a lot of points. Riley, same thing. It's just you need something. Right, the cap is one thing, and then you need something more. I think something that's going to put you over the edge.
Yeah, I think if Jack Eichel can live up to his potential, maybe that's the guy that puts you over the edge.
Right.
I don't know. I just know one of these players is going to have to be on LTIR, or they're going to have to trade one of them. Like, that's, I mean, they can't make it up front unless they make a move on defense. And let's actually get into the defense.
Yep.
You got Alec Martinez at a 5.25 cap hit at 8 points in 26 games played. Alex Pietrangelo, 80 games played, 13 goals, 31 assists, 44 points. Brandon McNabb, 69 games played, 3 goals, 15 assists, 18 points. You had Shea Theodore, 70 games played, 14 goals, 38 assists for 52 points. So he's obviously the point producer from the point. Then you got Ben Hutton, 58 games played, 3 goals, 10 assists, 13. Zach Whitecloud, 59 game played, 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 points, and all had, pretty decent plus minuses. Nothing else like a wild, but for how the team finished, pretty decent. I mean, what they could possibly do, and this would be a difficult contract to move, would be, Alex Pietrangelo. Can't even say names today, I guess. At 8.8 million. I mean, you could try to move him if you need that cap. I mean, I think that's a hard contract to move. I think Shea Theodore would be easier to move, but I think Shea Theodore's a really good defenseman. I love his game. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't see the point of moving a guy like that.
Yeah.
I think their decor is pretty solid, though.
It's pretty solid, but I would say they'd have to reevaluate halfway through the season where they are and what their realistic expectations are.
True.
Just because Alec Martinez, he's 35, right?
Yep.
You may look at him and be like, all right, cool. We're gonna have to do something different, and we may have to get younger on the back end, right? Alex Pietrangelo, 32. Again, it's not old in realistic times, but in hockey times with defensemen.
Yeah, you're getting older.
You're getting older, and not to say he's not on top of his game or anything like that, because obviously he's playing very well. He's putting up points. He played the entire season just about, missed only 2 games. You know, he can still do it, but it's one of those situations of like, will he still matter when you get all the other pieces together? Right?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You know what I mean? Like right now, you're good, right? And you might be able to sneak into the playoffs and maybe make a difference here or there, whatever the case is. Maybe get past the first round. Maybe these are all maybes, right? Yeah. There's no definites. And you take a look at these guys. You say, all right, cool. If we don't make it, or we're not in line to make it even to the playoffs by halfway through the season, do we sell these guys off, lower our cap hits, and get, you know, possible guys that can, you know, be a third line, you know, third defensive pairing, so on, and that you can build on, that are young and maybe show promise and build on that. Because at that point, these guys are pretty much going to be non-factors in the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you got to evaluate the end of the season where you're at before the deadline, and then maybe move one of these guys to a contender, right? Someone that's looking for that next piece. I mean, honestly, quite frankly, that's what you can do with Mike Riley and stuff like that. But it's going to be interesting to see how long Stone or Smith are out. Mike Riley, I'm sorry, Riley Smith. I'm thinking of my goddamn defenseman. Mark Stone and Riley Smith, that'd be interesting to see. And then you got Pietrangelo, Martinez. Why am I having such a difficulty pronouncing it? Whatever.
Pietrangelo?
Pietrangelo.
Oh my God, Pietrangelo, bro. Pietrangelo.
I can't. It's whatever. His name is Petey. I don't give a crap. So let's go to goaltender before, you know, I can butcher this any further. Robin Leonard had a down year. He's out for the season, though.
Yep. Again.
That actually, like, 907 save percentage, 23 wins, 17 losses. Like, he played okay. He had a down year. Laurent Brunssot, unknown. Oh my! Like, does Vegas? Okay, whatever. 24 games played, 2.9.
They're not injured. They're in the casinos in Vegas. That's
true. It's the alcoholism. It's the unknown.
They're lost there.
895 save percentage, not great. I mean, so Leonard's out for this. Hold on. Let me make sure of that. Next season, I gotta figure this out, because if that's true, that dramatically changes my opinion on them.
Of course, that's gonna make a break at that point, because again, not having that back end being solid is gonna be tough for any team.
Yeah. Now thinking about it, man, I don't know if this is out for this next upcoming season. Some of these things, because Mark Stone, he had to, yeah. So I don't know if he's actually out for next season. Kind of looking at that, I apologize. I'm just trying to make.
Right here, I have the surgery. He had shoulder surgery. He's out for this season.
This upcoming season, he's out?
Yeah, because they talked about it on April 25th. There's an article. Robin Leonard is out for the rest of the season for the Vegas Knights. Goalie shoulder injury, February 9th. Let's see.
Well, we just kind of looked into it. Sorry for the stop in action. Wanted to make sure that we had the correct information. So some of this stuff on Cap Friendly is from last season. So Robin Leonard looks like he will be returning. He will be able to play next season. So that kind of affects my, you know, standing of them somewhat. But I do think Brunssot, it doesn't look like a great backup. Sub 900 save percentage doesn't look great. So that might be a weakness. I mean, you do have Michael Hutchinson in the minors. He's like kind of been proven to be a decent third rotational guy. But then you also Logan Thompson's down there, 25 years old, had 19 games last season, 914 save percentage, 2.68. Maybe he competes for that backup spot. No, backup, because if Leonard's playing.
Well, we don't know when he'll come back.
There's not much. Yeah,
right. There's not much update on it. He did have shoulder injury as the season came to an end. So I know that Cap Friendly says that he's out for the season. It may not be the next season. That's definitely for the rest of the previous season last year, 21 to 22. But there is no expected time for him to come back in the next season. So we'll have to sit and wait on that.
So I think it will be probably, if Leonard's out at the beginning of the season, it's probably going to be a Thomas Brassard tandem.
Yeah.
Oof.
Not
That's
even.
bad.
I honestly would say Thompson and Hutchinson would move up, and I would not worry about whatever happens with Brassard at all.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's more there,
sense.
we're just not saying. Yeah, if there's just, I don't know, because Hutchinson's good in spots, right? Like, but even last year he struggled in two games. So, I mean, I think it's going to be open competition to beginning of the roster. So, I mean, let's go. Let's kind of go right into the standings itself here. So, I mean, Vegas finished decent last season. Okay. I mean, not as good as some people thought they would. I mean, looking at their roster, going after it, we've evaluated all teams at this point. They finished fourth last year with 94 points. Where do you realistically believe they're going to fall?
With Leonard, they'll be fighting for that third spot with Vancouver. But they're pretty much going to stay in that fourth spot. Without Leonard, they drop down to sixth.
Yeah, I think this is hard to judge for me because I don't know when if let's just say Leonard comes back a week or two in the season, right? Then I think realistically that's essentially a full season. He'll get majority of the starts, and I think Leonard's a very good starter in the NHL. So I think you're going to see some improvement there. But if Leonard is out for a significant amount of time, I don't have much faith in those goaltenders. I mean, maybe Logan Thompson proves me wrong. Maybe Hutchinson has that magically, like he has from time to time. But I don't see much there. So I think they're actually going to probably finish. This is tough. I think fifth or sixth. I think around fifth or sixth. I think even with Leonard, I don't know if he's going to be back in time. The team has some holes. I mean, I think fifth or sixth is not out of the question for them.
That or we need to see who comes back from these injuries. And
yeah, it's just it's such a hard team to judge because there's so many people out.
With unknown injuries. just send somebody to the casino to pick them up, please. That's it. They'll be back. But I mean, you're right. With so many injuries, I mean, both the goalies are injured, right? I mean, Brassard is unknown, so those other two guys, who are they? Hutchinson and Thompson are technically automatically brought up to the starting and backup role. They'll figure out who starts and who will be the backup. But it's kind of like a whitewash for them. Like, you just don't know which is going to go. If these guys, if all these injuries pan out and all these guys are healthy, they still have the next problem, which is the cap space.
Yeah, right? And then they're going to have to deal with one of those players to make a room available so they have everyone be compliant.
Exactly.
I mean, it's such a, oh my God, it's such a pain in the ass. Because the only way they make space is if they trade like a Smith or something for like prospects and stuff. Like nobody that's going to affect your NHL cap space. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be a very difficult deal to see for me. But yeah, I think fifth or sixth, I think realistically is where they'll finish, just because I don't know. I mean, if everyone comes back and they're ready for the season, I could see fourth place. But that's my opinion. So anything else you got to say before we get out of here?
No, that's it, man.
All right, man. So I want to say big thank you to everyone that has subscribed to the channel. It has been really fun kind of doing these breakdowns and, bringing forth this content. Like, me and Fajardo, man, we just enjoy talking hockey. I mean, like,
sir.
this is stuff we would do all the time. We were just, like, playing games, like video games or something, or just talking on the phone. We'd be talking about teams and stuff and trades. You know, and as this channel continually evolves, we're going to bring in other sports as well. But hockey is something we're both extremely passionate about. And I'm really glad to see you guys enjoy this content. So if you have watched this far into the video, I would greatly appreciate if you could like, comment, and subscribe. We're looking to continually grow. We're going to be going into a multitude of different sports, but we're also going to keep up this hockey content for the whole year. And yeah.
I think, so our next show is going to be based off the Central Division. We're probably going to split it up the same way, where we do half the division for in a part 1, and then do a part 2 with the second half of the division. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And again, comment, let us know if there's anything that we missed. We appreciate some of the comments on, you know, things that we may have missed, or maybe some things you want us to look at. But you know, we're here to expand our knowledge in hockey, and hopefully expand yours as well. So, you know, come on in and join the party.
So, I'm Captain Paul. That's Fajardo. We'll see you in the next one. That beat!
Oh yeah.